I'm an architect, and I look at the details and look at how to implement this thing, and I don't see it. I don't see the ability to get what we need with the current proposal. I don't know where it went wrong. I had faith that it would get to the right place, but it really hasn't. So I really think the commission could do the community a huge service to please take some time and get this right and spend the time. And it's hard work. It's really hard, but I think the community deserves it. And listening to these folks tonight, this is a good community, and I think they really deserve it. Thanks so much.
But it won't really solve the key problems of affordability, fair housing, and the need for units with more than 3 bedrooms, or 3 even. In fact, it will make them worse and upend the social contract that was cut in the early 1970s that has worked so well and which guided the Planning Commission during my 10+ years.
It's doing is it's allowing subdividing, and that's the game changer. As soon as the land that could sell for $900,000 can be subdivided, and instead of realizing a $1.4 million new house on that land, now it can be $2 million semi-detached, you're going to quickly accelerate the rate of tear downs. Perfectly good homes will be torn down, not just obsolete homes, because you can get more money out of that land. So this analysis that the PES did saying maybe 20 a year is totally off base when subdivision is part of this formula.
My greatest concern is that there were a number of items in the consultant's scope of work that were not completed. And these analyses are so important to make sure that the policy is connected to best practices and that there are no unintended consequences.
I'm a licensed civil engineer in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I live in South Arlington. I am for sound, reasonable housing solution, but disagree with the proposed missing middle solution. As an engineer with almost 30 years of experience, I know a good problem statement when I see one, and this one is so incredibly broad that it is highly disturbing that other solutions have not been vetted. There has been no thought on how infrastructure will be upgraded when the full build-out occurs. This must be considered now, from sidewalks to buried electrical to water and sewer.
Speaking not only for myself but for my neighbors too, we are against missing middle upzoning, which has nothing to do really with increasing diversity or young buyers, first responders in neighborhoods now zoned single family. It's a real effort by the county to increase density and tax revenue. Developers love it. We can expect tear downs. They will tear down certain buildings, replace them with expensive high-rise rentals.
I've spent a lot of time over the years analyzing housing in Arlington, and I can honestly say there is no missing middle. Of all the homes for sale in Arlington at this very moment, 63% are the so-called missing middle.
As a lifelong Virginian, and as a renter who aspires to the American dream of one day owning my own single-family home, I ask the Arlington County Board and this commission to reject plans for the so-called missing middle and preserve single-family zoning for the future. The county should embrace the principles that have made Arlington an attractive place to live. Development that originates organically, environmental protection with parks and green spaces, and supporting people like me who want to get into single-family homes, not replacing those homes with haphazard, rapid development.
The county admits that 80% of missing middle units will be rentals and 90% will have 1 or 2 bedrooms. What's the justification for upzoning the entire county when what we'll get will be more of what we already have at a time when we're actually exceeding our goals for new housing?
Moreover, for a variety of reasons, including federal tax laws, virtually all stakeholders in the missing middle housing discussion now concede that such 1 and 2 bedroom units will be rental apartment units. But the county already has a supply of over 70,000 1 and 2 bedroom apartment units scattered around the county. 1 and 2 bedroom units are not what is missing. Moreover, the draft framework points out that the vast majority of African American and Hispanic families cannot afford even the least expensive of these 1 and 2 bedroom units.
Analyzing the key missing middle contention as an economist, as I am, yields a discouraging finding. So the central objective of the missing middle will fail. Amongst its undesirable side effects will be an increase in prices at the lower end, People earning less than $100,000 a year will be forced out of the county. These proposals are fundamentally misguided.
On the tree canopy provisions in the ordinance, they may run afoul of the state code, as this whole thing could get tossed because of that.
Arlington's infrastructure is outdated and struggles to serve the community now. As far as studies having been done, the county's response to a recent Freedom of Information Act request revealed that there are no studies. In fact, a DES report said, and I quote, "will have to be evaluated in the future." This is no way to run a business or a county.
Good evening. I've lived in Arlington since 1992 in rental and as a homeowner. I've lived in townhouses and single-family homes and in apartment buildings, cities, suburbs, and rural. Growing up, my family was redlined out of desirable neighborhoods due to restrictive covenants. The units that are going to come in are going to come at the top of the market, not at the medians typically shown in the county's materials. And the proposal would accelerate the destruction of desirable three-bedroom houses. There is already a full diversity of housing choices within Arlington.
My wife and I took the official plans for the missing middle to 75 neighbors within the 10-block radius in 3 days. We only had one neighbor support the initiative, and their understanding was that this is for low-income people. We zoom out to the county level, 4,000 citizens have signed a petition opposing missing middle.
I attended the zoning committee meetings on November 9th and 30th, and those were pretty chilling experiences. And over, committee members noted that they lacked the specific appropriate data for making recommendations on the issues that were under discussion, the same problem that's been mentioned over and over this evening.
I strongly oppose the Missing Middle Initiative. It's very poorly analyzed. It's essentially not analyzed. It's based somehow on the assumption that if we just let the developers subdivide Arlington, it will magically transform Arlington into an affordable community. It reminds me of the urban renewal of the 1950s and early 1960s.
Many tonight have spoken eloquently about the issues with the changes that are proposed. They've pointed out problems with housing, tree canopies, community services, the lack of measurable objectives, impact studies, and data that will show this plan will work. The main winners of the current proposal are the developers and landlords. So I ask you, slow down, go back to the planning stage, do the impact studies, work with the community, remember those first two goals, and find ways to help our moderate income residents purchase homes.